giving you a Cowboy coaching do-over. You can go back and pick one of the 4 options. You only have these 4 options because these are the realistic ones. By the way, that Ed Werder thing, man, someone seemed to have tricked Ed in the whole enamored. Both sides are enamored. And I was expecting within 48, 72 hours the deal to be done because Jerry loves the idea and Deion wants to do it. What's the problem? And then you figure out the buyout. And then they didn't even set up an interview. So someone really was persuasive in leaking that information. You can keep McCarthy. You keep Dan Quinn after the Packer game, and you get rid of Mike. You promote Quinn by McCarthy. You promote Kellen to head coach, and you don't let him leave for the Chargers, right? The next Jason Garrett.
That was like 3 years ago.
Yes. You just realize that at the time. You promote Kellen to head coach, or you can hire Kellen. You can hire Kellen right now. Hire Schottenheimer. There are 4,200 votes on this. How would you vote, and how do you think the Tolos have voted?
This is going way back.
Well, it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you have to go way back, right? Because
you don't have to go way back. You could hire Kellen right now.
Okay, but hiring Quinn would have you go back a year.
Yeah, that's not way back. It's before this year, before this season happened.
I'm going back to before or after the San Francisco game. If I could do it all over again. The Santa Clara one. I'm going back to that one, and I'm elevating Quinn to head coach and then paying Kellen to be like through the nose to be the OC.
So Dan, you're not letting Dan Quinn get away.
Mm-hmm.
While you think
I'd hire Kellen right now.
You'd hire Kellen
right now.
I thought you were. I knew you weren't going to promote Quinn because you're anti.
Well, here's the thing with Dan Quinn. Okay, let's go back to Christmas Eve last year, not this 23. And Greg the Leg is to blame for this entire thing. And you know where I'm going with this.
I don't, but go ahead.
Christmas Eve, the Jets beat Washington 30-28 on a last-second field goal by Greg the Leg. He was on the logo. Had he missed that field goal, Washington wins. Washington now picks like 6th and not 2nd. And they don't get Jaden Daniels. And now they're stuck with Joe Alt or whoever. Or maybe they go quarterback and they take Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix. Point is, they don't have Jaden Daniels. They're not in the NFC Championship game. We're not looking at Dan Quinn like that. We're all revisionists here on this one. Go ask people in Atlanta about Dan Quinn. They couldn't stand him. They couldn't wait to get him out of there.
People can't grow. People can't change.
Of course, they absolutely can grow. But we also look at Dan with, oh man, he's the. You don't hear a whole lot about the ins and outs of what the defensive coordinator would do in game with in-game coaching, and they hated him in Atlanta. Anyway,
he is one game away from taking 2 teams to the Super Bowl.
That would be tremendous. But in an MVP, one of the best quarterback years you've ever seen, and then the best rookie season you've ever seen. I'm putting those Super Bowl runs on Jaden Daniels and Matt Ryan, 85%, and then the small smattering onto Dan Quinn. So I would promote Kellen.
Okay, not keep Mike.
Well, I would hire Kellen now, but because the Mike thing's gone. I mean, I would have kept Mike if it was between Mike and Schottenheimer or Kellen Moore this year. I'd have kept Mike, but that's not gonna. That was never feasible. You couldn't sell that either. You got to sell something to this fan base. So let's just promote Kellen.
I'd go Quinn, Kellen, Shotty, McCarthy. That's the order.
Well, of course you would.
4,200 people have voted. 82% say they would have kept Quinn by McCarthy, which is amazing because the entire city wanted to kick Dan Quinn out of town. We should use this as a lesson to learn, right? Chris Richard should be the next head coach. Get Dan Quinn out of here. He sucks. He sabotaged the Packer game. And now 82% would have preferred to keep him over what's happening right now. 11% said keep McCarthy. 4% said promote Kellen, make Kellen the head coach. And 2.5% said hire Schottenheimer.
You just referenced it there. Are you as stunned as I am by the sheer volume of people that are 100% believing Dan Quinn through the Green Bay game? I saw a ton of that this weekend. He sabotaged it. He intentionally lost that game to get out of here. He didn't want to be here.
Am I surprised by it? No, because people love that type of crap. People love conspiracy theories like that. But look at this heavy voting for Dan Quinn. And truth be told, I was ready. I think I even tweeted, you can get Dan Quinn up out of here as well.
Is there a difference to you, though, between elevating Dan Quinn to head coach and having him oversee the defense, the ins and outs? Like, is there a difference between, like, let him lead the culture? I'm fine with that. I don't want him calling the defense anymore.
No, not that much of a difference, because I always, the defense was undisciplined. It didn't make me think better of Dan Coach as a rah-rah guy, because they were still doing dumb things and they were undisciplined under his watch as well and had a ton of penalties. So I wasn't automatically thinking, oh my God, just because Dan Quinn's fun with his backwards hat, that the Cowboys are all of a sudden going to tighten up and do all the things that I was holding Mike McCarthy responsible for. Jay Glazer is going to make you miss Dan Quinn even more, as he talked about his latest interaction with him for the Fox Pod.
Dan Quinn, I talked to him before the game. The hope he gives people. I had him and Dan Campbell FaceTime our firefighters. It was amazing, right before the game.
That is amazing.
They want to thank them. They want to, pump them up, but also just thank them. Tell them how appreciative they are and how much they admire them. And right before DQ and I are talking, he's like, hey, man, we're good. We are swinging away today. He is so optimistic. And he sure did. And we talked right after the game, too. I said, hey, you told me you're going to swing away. He said, damn right we were. And we did. We were looking to punch people in the mouth. And that's what we did. Like, that's him. I've known this cat since he was a D-line coach with the 49ers in the 90s. And I've never, ever, even his bad days, it's our best.
So there you go. The likability, the lovability. Of course, people are throwing in, their suggestions and candidates outside of what I laid out, because these were the reasonable ones. Deion quickly became unreasonable, unserious, to fit along with the term that many are using. Steve Mariucci was trying to hang on, this past weekend on NFL Network.
Some people think this is crazy because he has no head or no coaching experience in the NFL at all. But I will say this, he's coached a lot. He's coached youth football. Try doing that sometime. He's coached high school football. Try doing that sometime. He's coached college at a very high level. He and I coached together at the Under Armour All-American game for 11 years. I've seen him relate to the kids. When he starts teaching about defensive back technique, that kind of thing, he's second to none. And the respect that he has from these kids, you can't believe it. So he wouldn't call the plays on offense, or he wouldn't call defenses. He would manage the game. He would be responsible, Rich, for the culture in that locker room. And I'm not saying it's bad. Mike McCarthy did a heck of a job. But when Prime is in charge, he wants a certain kind of a way with his young men to be respectful to women and to the game and to respect things. And he teaches how to be a great human being. This would be awesome, all right? If Jerry says, hey, you know what? He's one of our own. He's one of our stars. We are America's team. Heck, he might bring fans from all over the country. But it's a little different than in college, because he doesn't have the same, hey, transfer portal, 86 guys came into Colorado. You don't have that in the NFL. You recruit some free agents once in a while. Right. But I know that if he got the opportunity and they joined forces, this would be awesome to watch. He could do it.
This is jumping back to Dan Quinn really quickly. How many games in a row do you think Dan Quinn has won as a head coach in December and January? As dating back to days in Atlanta.
Remember, they always started off poorly in Atlanta, and they would catch on.
How many in a row is he won?
I don't know.
15.
That's crazy.
15 straight December and January games as a head coach. Yeah, it was. He went undefeated this year. He went undefeated his final year in Atlanta, and he won the last 3 or 4 in Atlanta the year before that. And then he got fired in 2020 before he got to December.
Because they always started like 0-4, 0-5, 0-7.
One year it got him fired.